I'm Nitin Dahad, and I'm reporting today from the Financial Times Future of the Car conference in London. And I'm here today with Lynn Calder, CEO of Ineos Automotive. Lynn, hello.
Hi, Nitin.
Lynn, we spoke last year, and I did a podcast, and you talked about some of the challenges of the net zero strategies that government policies are sort of pursuing. But before we go into that, just tell me a little bit about Ineos Automotive and your broader strategy. And you've got sort of several vehicles, both launched and planned.
Yeah, so Ineos Automotive, we launched as a business, as an entity 6 years ago, but we really only launched our first vehicle into the market last year. So at our core, we're a 4x4 company. We are engineering 4x4s to put the fun back into driving, to put the driver back into the driving seat. So we are not a 4x4 with lots of luxury electronics. What we are is a pure blood 4x4 that really kind of allows the driver to go and do very adventurous things, but also go and do the school run if they want. But at the same time, we've kind of factored in some modern refinement and comfort as well. And at the moment, that vehicle, the one that we've launched, along with its brother or sister vehicle, the Quartermaster. So the Grenadier is the original marquee product. The Quartermaster is the pickup truck version. We're now looking forward to different powertrain options. We will remain at our core as a 4x4 company. That is the expertise that we built. So for future models, there'll be 4x4s. But we're looking to broaden the lineup, the product lineup, broaden the customer base, and our strategy is to be an OEM that's around for decades to come, with a clear focus on technology, a clear focus on quality, clear focus on the customer and the driver, putting the fun back into driving.
And that strategy is based both on ICE and electric, isn't that?
Yeah, so the Grenadier and the Quartermaster that we've already launched are ICE vehicles. They are available in petrol, diesel. We've got a BMW Straight 6, petrol or turbo diesel. And for the future, we're looking at multi-powertrain options. We actually believe that the combustion engine will be around for quite a long time to come. We understand that Europe and the UK are legislating. We understand what that means. But there are many other countries in the world that will require combustion engine vehicles for the appropriate use case, for long journeys, for the fact that electric infrastructure doesn't exist. So combustion engine for a while. We have announced our next vehicle, our third vehicle, which is the Fusilier, and that will come in both all electric, battery electric version and a range extender version. And that range extender is really designed to be a pure electric vehicle, but with a very small combustion engine and generator that will power the battery, not the wheels, at a fraction of the CO2 emissions, but taking away the range anxiety from the driver.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because we're not an auto magazine, but we're engineering. But I think it's quite interesting to understand those perspectives in terms of what you're trying to address.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to address yes, fast-paced legislation to get to net zero, which is extremely important. We're trying to address what the customer wants, what drivers want, what they need for their mobility needs. And I think that that's definitely informing our strategy to go down the multi-powertrain route. So we'll look at other things as well. So, we've talked about ICE, we've talked about electric, we've talked about range extender, which we think is going to be a huge transition vehicle, not just for us, but should be for the industry, most certainly should be valued by the government as a transition vehicle. But we're also looking into hydrogen. We will, and kind of believe that if governments and regulators really want to say this is the only route, which is electric, we feel that innovation will be stifled. I think there will be technologies we haven't thought of as an industry yet. Let us innovate. We've got a lot of very brilliant minds in this industry.
And I think that was your message last year, which was basically, if you just go along one path, you're not going to be able to innovate. Is anybody listening?
Yes, I would say, and no, I would say. So I think not only do I think that it will stifle innovation, the other reason I think the one-horse race doesn't work is that we will fail. I think that, who's listening right now is the driver. The driver is voting with its feet, and that's what's really changed since last year when we last met. My message hasn't changed at all, and there are a lot of people that are not listening. But drivers, that's what's changed in the last year. They're voting with their feet right now. They're saying that they won't accept an all-electric outcome after 2035. They're saying they won't accept it. So we need to provide a route to net zero that drivers will accept, that will be affordable to drivers. And I think that some of the transition options around a range extender, for example, are great options and should be considered by governments. And at the moment, it's a hybrid. It would be banned in 2035.
And so you talked about range extenders, and I think specifically for your vehicles, but are you looking at partnering with other sort of commercial auto manufacturers to provide that kind of technology, to license that technology?
So, not specifically with other auto manufacturers. We're currently reviewing supply options of a range extender. We've got probably 3 different options that we're evaluating at the moment. These are suppliers.
Okay. And coming to that net zero target by 2035 in electric vehicles, I think you were quite vocal in trying to make the point that it's not just about the tailpipe emissions, and I think again I wrote about that last year as well, but I think you quoted some figures today, and I think those are very good figures in terms of, well, you can still achieve that kind of level with what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's if you take the UK as an example, which is a good example since we're sitting in London, yes. In January, in the middle of winter 2024, the energy mix was still very much swayed towards gas. It was a huge contributor. 35.7% of our energy in January came from gas. And sure, that gets better as summer comes. It gets better on extremely windy days where we can draw on wind. It gets better on extremely sunny days when we can draw on solar. But 35% there or thereabouts on a winter's day is going to come from natural gas, a fossil fuel. Therefore, you fill up or recharge your electric vehicle with electricity from that energy mix situation. It is not a net zero car. And my point is that in the UK, if you've got a net zero electric vehicle that people are thinking is a net zero, but it's powered 35% by natural gas, and you've got a range extender which might have 20 to 30% of the emissions of a combustion engine vehicle, those vehicles are actually at complete parity in terms of their CO2 emissions. Yet one is going to be banned and the other one isn't, just because one has zero emission from the tailpipe. We need to look at it from a broader sense. We can't just look at the convenient bit, which is the tailpipe emissions. We need to look at the whole picture.
Okay, so what do you want to see in 12 months from now at this conference? What do you think I'll be seeing from you? Is it still the same message, or do you think there'll be some sort of changes in policy?
I think you'll certainly be hearing the same message from me. I'll just keep on talking because I think it's really important. I think it's a really important message. I do want people to listen. For me, it sounds quite rational to think about this in a transitional way and to get the right outcome that actually gives us a chance of succeeding, because actually that's the biggest concern right now. This isn't about an automotive manufacturer trying to keep a combustion engine for longer. This is someone who, I've got an energy background, I've come into automotive, I'm observing that at the pace of our glide path right now, we have got no chance of succeeding, and we've hit a brick wall with customers. They don't want it. So electric vehicles are absolutely undoubtedly part of the mix. I think what I'd like to see, what I'd like to hear that's different is government starting to waken up to the fact they can't just say this is the way forward and then have no plan of how they're going to get there. They need to start listening to drivers, most importantly. Drivers are voters. They need to listen to the industry and let us innovate. I'm not talking about don't regulate us. I'm saying let us innovate. Let us come up with the solutions.
And do you think that's one of the reasons why in the last few weeks we've seen statistics that show EV sales have flattened? Is that part of the reason?
Yeah, I think part of the reason is that customers are looking at, I think the early adopters have bought one. Lots of people who've bought one, it's not their only car. Many of the electric vehicle owners I know have a combustion engine car for long journeys. We have not convinced the general public that full electric is the way to go, and that's because infrastructure hasn't kept pace. And range anxiety is a real thing. People will not buy a car that A, they have to pay more for, B, they then worry about how they're going to refill it and use it on an operational basis, and C, they don't know what the residual value is going to be. And I think that is why they're voting with their feet right now. Now, I think we need to convince drivers that electric is good for certain use cases and they should buy it for those use cases. But we also need to then offer low or zero emission options for the other use cases, and don't leave drivers, for example, who live in rural areas that need to cover long distances behind.
Well, we heard a new word today, school runish, the 4x4 for the school run.
I heard it completely incorrectly as well, so I thought I was being taught a new word. But yeah, I mean, I think school runish is a great new word, and definitely, strategically speaking for us, a direction that we'll take with some of our models, but not all. We're very proud of our Grenadier rugged marquee product.
Lynn, thank you very much.
Thanks, Nitin.